In a world addicted to outrage, being calm is rebellion. Everyone's triggered, everyone's loud, everyone's waiting for a reason to explode. The Stoic? He's not part of that game. He watches, he listens. And when he moves, it's deliberate. Because in a reactive world, emotion is currency. The more you show, the more you're played. That's why the Stoic doesn't suppress emotion, he masters it. To most people, calm looks cold, detachment looks arrogant. But what they're really seeing is control, and control is rare. The Stoic isn't numb, he feels deeply. But he doesn't perform those feelings for an audience. He processes, he decides, then he acts. Not out of mood, but out of principle. And that's what makes him dangerous. Not because he's emotionless, but because he isn't owned by emotion. This is how you win in a world built to trigger you, not by reacting faster, but by responding slower, with clarity, with force, with zero need to explain. Emotions aren't the problem is letting them run your life. Anger isn't weakness, fear isn't failure, but the second they take the wheel, you stop driving and start reacting. The Stoic doesn't kill his emotions, he cages them, studies them, learns their patterns. Then he builds responses that serve him, not ones that sabotage him. The world will bait you every day, with news, gossip, personal jabs, false praise, and cheap outrage. Every time you bite, you lose. Not because you're wrong, but because you gave your peace away for free. The Stoic understands this transaction. That's why he pauses before responding. That's why he refuses to match energy with chaos. Because being calm isn't passive, it's a power move. And here's the truth. Most people aren't emotional because they care too much. They're emotional because they've trained their minds to explode instead of endure. The Stoic reverses that. He builds pressure tolerance. He trains in silence. So when the storm hits, he's not swept up. He becomes the eye of it. The Stoic's strength isn't in suppressing emotion. It's in sitting with it, studying it, and refusing to be led by it. He doesn't numb out. He doesn't pretend. He simply refuses to become a puppet. That's why he moves like stone, but thinks like fire. His emotions are tools, not chains. They inform, but never command. That's emotional sovereignty, and it's rare in a world this loud. You can't train for this by reading quotes. You train by catching yourself mid-reaction and choosing differently. One deep breath, one pause, one withheld reply. These aren't small moments. They're rewrites. Every time you don't explode, you evolve. And that evolution? That's what Inner Legion exists to build. This isn't about going numb, it's about becoming unshakable. If this resonates, if you're tired of being controlled by your own mind, your own triggers, your own reactions, stick around, subscribe. This isn't just content, it's armor. We don't just post, we prepare. Emotional control doesn't mean you don't feel, it means your feelings don't make decisions for you. That's what separates the Stoic from the crowd. The crowd reacts, the Stoic evaluates. The crowd defends ego, the Stoic protects energy. Because he knows every reaction costs something: time, attention, focus, peace. And if you're not choosing those trades consciously, you're bleeding power every day. The Stoic builds response time, a moment of pause before action, a question before assumption. He asks, does this deserve my energy? And 9 times out of 10, the answer is no. Not because he's afraid of confrontation, but because he knows what's worth confronting. Most things aren't. He doesn't waste his sharpness on noise, he saves it for real battles. That's why people underestimate him, until pressure comes, until chaos hits. Then suddenly, the quiet one becomes the anchor, the one who didn't overtalk, didn't overfeel, just outlasted. The Stoic doesn't train to look calm, he trains to be calm. That difference is everything. He doesn't play the role of the unbothered man, he becomes him. Through repetition, through restraint, through choosing stillness even when chaos begs for a reaction. Because control isn't something you act like, it's something you build. He doesn't enter arguments just to prove he can win. He doesn't respond to every slight like it's a war. He's selective, not scared, strategic, not soft. And that makes him lethal in silence. Because while others scream to be heard, the Stoic watches, waits, then acts with precision. No wasted energy, no emotional mess to clean up after. This isn't detachment out of weakness. It's emotional muscle, grown in solitude, forged through discipline, and protected by a standard that says, I will not give my peace away just to feel momentarily justified. That's not suppression, that's control, that's power. Emotional control isn't about becoming a robot, it's about becoming a weapon. Quiet, precise, disciplined. In a reactive world, your ability to remain still isn't just rare, it's feared. Because when you can't be provoked, you can't be predicted. And when you can't be predicted, you can't be controlled. That's why the Stoic doesn't raise his voice. He raises his standard. He doesn't chase dominance. He embodies it. calmly, constantly, without show. And here's the truth. In every moment of frustration, insult, delay, or betrayal, you have a choice. Collapse into noise, or rise into silence. The former is easy, the latter is power. Because real power doesn't react, it calculates, it waits. Then it strikes only when necessary, not emotionally, but effectively. So ask yourself this: when the next storm hits, will you be the one shouting in the wind, or the one standing so still it shakes everyone around you?